Hey everyone, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about 12 items that I regularly buy at the Dollar Tree, and they're things that are used for gardening. Not all of them are necessarily items that I go and get from the garden section. In fact, quite a few of them aren't, so stay tuned if you want to see what those are. So one of the first things that I'm going to show you today is something that I buy on the regular, and I probably have about 10 of these. If you watch my shed video, organizing my shed, I have a little container in there that I think I already have about 6 or 7 in, and I have more up at the house. And then I just bought a new one for the sake of this video, but they're little kneeling pads. If you've been in there, you've seen them. For the price that they are, there is enough cushion for me. I don't do a whole lot of kneeling on rocks or anything. I do mostly in the dirt, so this really saves my knees. So for $1.25, I just find this to be a really good buy and affordable enough to have a whole bunch on hand, so I can always find one no matter where I'm at. Now, when I was in the Dollar Tree the other day, they tend to have these sporadically. Every year I think they do have them, but different styles. You know, they like to change their styles every year. So what I'm talking about is they have these really cute thermometers. And this one has a dragonfly on it. And I took this one out of the package so we could see it better. On the back it's flat, and it has a little hole up here to hang it on a nail. But I just thought they were really cute, and I use these down in my greenhouse. I use them in my seed germination room, and I even have one outside my kitchen window so I can see what the current temperature is. And then one of the things that I use that is not necessarily from the gardening section, zip ties. I love zip ties. They're like my fix-it for everything. I can keep them in my apron. You'll probably see me wear that in later videos, but I use these when I tie up plants sometimes. I use these with fencing. We also use cattle panels as like growing trellises in the garden, and sometimes I need to use a zip tie to secure those because we don't use too much permanent because we move them often. But this is the smallest size. I've actually used these to zip tie my shade cloth over the chicken outdoor area. We bought a shade cloth for the spoiled little girls, so those work really well. And the next step are their clippers. Now there's two style of clippers that they sell. One is the little needle nose and the other are the larger clippers. I use them both. Now the larger clippers probably aren't my favorite, but I use them. And the thing that I find about them a lot is this little mechanism right here that locks and unlocks from being able to open and shut. It gets really sloppy because if you're out there clipping and then it just constantly is locking, it is such a pain in the you-know-what. These little needle nose ones I love. I'll see if I can get them out of the package if you want to take a better look at them if you've never seen them before. They're pretty pointed and precise. And you can hurt yourself, trust me, I've done that before too, but I like them because I can clip tiny little things. So sometimes on my little seedlings as they're growing, the first, not leaves, but the first little leaves that appear when they come out, they'll tend to turn yellow because they don't need them anymore, and it's not a sign of your plant dying. They just don't need them. So I'll go in and I'll clip them off with these little tiny clippers because they're very precise and I can get right to where I want. And I use them a lot when I prune the dead leaves off of my strawberries. So for $1.25, I buy several pair of those every year. And I'm kind of one of those people where our property, we have 6 1/4 acres, and so there's certain areas where I just keep little stashes of things so I don't have to run and look for them every time I'm going somewhere. But the next one is kind of a twofer, and they're clips. And the Dollar Tree sells these little green clips. Oh, and as you can see, that one just broke. That was one of the things I was going to say about these. They're little green clips, and they have like a hoop spring in them. And they have this smaller size, and then they have one that's a little bit larger. And these are good for, you know, clipping up tomato stems or other things. But the problem with these I have found is they tend to break very easy, and they're not super strong, where depending on what you're clipping will really make the difference in that. But I find with the sun too, they deteriorate pretty quickly, the quality of the plastic. But what I do instead for most of my things, now this is these are from the sewing section. They're pink and they're metal, and they have a pretty good spring on them. I use these when I cover some of my tender plants with like a frost cloth, or I even use these when I have to cover some of my berries with bird netting to keep the little stinkers out of there from eating all my berries. And they work really well. And they also, in the crafters, I believe it's a crafter square. Yeah, the crafter square section, they sell the smaller size. You can see the difference. And I like these too because at the ends where I clip the frost blanket closed, these little tiny ones come in handy. And the thing I like about these is I have had some of these for 3 years and they're still going strong. Sometimes these little rubber tips on the end come off, but it hasn't really affected the clamps. Next, seeds. I love the fact that they have seeds at the Dollar Tree. These ones are the California Wonder, just a bell pepper, and there's quite a few seeds in here. And honestly, unless you're growing acres and acres of plants, you don't need a whole lot of seeds. So there are some varieties of plants and vegetables that I will just get at the Dollar Tree in order to not have 10 years worth of seeds in a pack. Okay, next up, this is a fun one. But at the Dollar Tree, they sell this little broom and dustpan kit. And what I love about this, I have one in my seed starting room. I have one down here at the greenhouse. I have one in my shed. I have them everywhere. And what I love about them is when I just make a tiny small mess, I can just sweep it up, put it in the garbage, and be done with it. And sometimes the big broom is just too big and clunky for whatever I'm doing. So this is definitely something that I use a lot in gardening. And then their little trowels. I mostly love this trowel, which has more of a slender shape to it. It's really good for when I weed or when I am digging down and trying to make a hole for planting the potatoes, or if I do have any bulbs or corms that I'm planting flower-wise. They're very sturdy, and other than if you're trying to dig in really hard ground and just like reef, I have bent the metal before. Otherwise, if you're using this in good soil, good tool to have. I have several of those as well. Now, this one is a hit or miss for me. Most of the time, I'm going to be honest, it's a miss, but it's their garden gloves. And the reason why it's a miss most of the time for me is because I have a smaller hand. I wear a size small gloves if I just go to the store and buy them by the size. And every time I put on a pair of gloves from the Dollar Tree, I always tend to have like this much room left at the tip of the finger, and I can't feel what I'm doing, which totally defeats the purpose. If I'm trying to hold on to something or pick something. But I tried these on when I was there the other day, and they actually, my fingers go all the way to the end, and they're just the kind with the little rubber bumps on the inside. Most of the time, the type of glove that I wear has like a breathable fabric on the back, and the whole palm is like a rubber type material to keep your hands dry. Those are my favorite, but I got those for a backup. Next, not sold in the garden department at the Dollar Tree, but it's their scissors, and this is the Jot brand scissors, and I love these. I keep a pair again in my shed, in my greenhouse, in my seed starting room. I use these because I'm constantly opening bags of like peat moss, perlite, potting mixes, I mean, you name it, bone meal, worm castings, any type of product that I have. And sometimes I need to cut, as you will see in one of my other videos, where I have my more sensitive seeds down here in the greenhouse. I have like a foil like emergency blanket that I use on the bottom to help retain the heat throughout the night, and I had to trim it down, and I had my scissors down here and I was able to use those. Now the last thing that I'm going to show you on the 12 things that I like to use from the Dollar Tree is this little dish pan. And what I like about these, they used to sell black ones that were a little bit sturdier. The quality has kind of deteriorated a little bit, but you can mix up your soil in this if you're doing small batches. I have done like a real custom mix for when I've done succulents before, and they kind of like a sandier, and you just need a small portion. This is really handy, or if you want to pre-wet some of your potting mix and you just need a little bit, again, these are really great. So that's just 12 items that I use from the dollar store. If there's anything that you use that I didn't show today, please leave it in the comments down below. I'd love to take a look at it and see if it's something I could use as well in my garden. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope to see you next time. Bye.